let's go ahead and get started with transferring your files either from Blackboard into PolyLearn or from your computer to PolyLearn. And I wanted to show you a couple things that could be helpful to you before you start this class and that you may want to print out before just so that you can write your notes on that. If you go to the faculty support section of the PolyLearn support site, that's polylearnsupport.calpoly.edu. If you click on the faculty section, over here on the right under transitioning, there is a section called transferring files from Blackboard to PolyLearn. If you click on that, what we're going to be doing today is how you can zip up your Blackboard course and use a program called Be Free. If you don't have Be Free, you can download it and install it on your computer, and here's the link to the software right here, first step. If you don't have administrative access to your computer, you will need a LAN coordinator or your tech person in your department to install this software. But if it's your own personal computer, you should be able to install it no problem. And then how do you use Be Free? So I'm going to go ahead and cover these things, but it is helpful if you want to. You could either reference this later or print it and write your notes on this document. You know, it will save you some time in trying to write notes while you're watching. You can also watch this video here if you like. It's a video about this process that's similar to the one you're watching now. So if I go back to the support site and go ahead and access the portal, because the portal is the place where you get to Blackboard or PolyLearn. And I've already logged in to save time, so I'm in my portal and I'm in the My Classes section, because the My Classes section lets me open Blackboard or PolyLearn. And I would click on, you know, in mine it's the other, so any BB next to a course name or P to get to PolyLearn. So if I've already had and clicked on a BB and I've accessed my Blackboard course, this is my Blackboard course, and I want to be able to export this content and put it into my PolyLearn course. I also wanted to show you something else, a diagram, in trying to explain how this all works, and hopefully this is going to record nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. This diagram here is the process that we're covering today. So we have the Blackboard to PolyLearn and we have the computer to PolyLearn. So Blackboard to PolyLearn, step A. Now that process itself, like I said, you have to start with the Blackboard course. Now this is if your content's only in Blackboard and nowhere else. You could also export your course just in case. That way you would have your Blackboard course when Blackboard's turned off on May 31st. You'd still be able to have that exported Blackboard course. But you know, if your files are already on your computer for option B, this is going to be your best scenario. If you already have them on your computer, then you're going to skip a bunch of steps and you can go from there. But if your files are on your computer, first you have to export the files from Blackboard as a zip file that you're going to save onto your computer. How do you do that? You would need to go back to Blackboard, so let me go ahead and get to that. And in Blackboard, in the control panel on the left-hand side, you're going to go to the course options on the bottom left and click on Export Course. Now I have already exported a course in here for the purpose to speed things up. If you look at yours though, it's going to be blank and there will not be any courses listed here. But to export your course, you click on the Export button and then it takes you to a page where you get to pick what you're exporting. Just to let you know, the content that we're exporting is not this stuff down here. This stuff cannot be exported and placed into PolyLearn because most of this stuff is Blackboard content only. Blackboard resources or settings that only work in Blackboard. So you will not be able to take this kind of stuff out of Blackboard and put it into PolyLearn. What we're looking at right now is only files. I want my syllabus, I want my getting started, my PDFs, I want my course materials or learning materials, whatever I've called it. Those are the things that I want to get out of Blackboard so I can put back into PolyLearn. If you're thinking about test surveys and pools, you're not going to do that through this process. Test surveys and pools are going to be from your support site, faculty support, polylearnsupport.calpoly.edu, and you're going to look at the transitioning section and go to this form, Blackboard question transfer request. Click on that. Unfortunately, you are unable to do this yourself, so we have a process where we can get Blackboard questions out of the pool, test, or survey manager and put them into the question area of PolyLearn. So if you want your questions to be moved from Blackboard to PolyLearn, you need to fill this form out, and that process will be done for you. So again, all we're talking about today is getting files out of your course to place into PolyLearn. So you'd pick the content items you're interested in, go ahead and click on Submit. When you click Submit, it's going to tell you it's completed. It will send you an email when it's actually done though, because when you click on the OK button, most likely your zip file is not here. It will take a little while to process. And you can get out of that by clicking on the control panel and go back in, and sometimes it shows up right away like this one just did. So here's the one that I just did today. And sometimes it takes a little while. So anyway, I wasn't sure how long it would take, so I went ahead and did one earlier. Now the big thing is the next step is to save this to your computer. So if I look at that diagram again, so I've done this part right here, made a zip file, but now I need to save it to my computer. I need to move that zip file that's on Blackboard and put it onto my Macintosh. So we're in the second phase of option A. So let's go ahead and go back to that and how you can do that. Now you can just click on it and then hope that it downloads, but as you can see that it did download to my desktop, but it downloaded it as a folder. Now you don't want that. That's a bad thing. The reason why that's a bad thing is because this folder, this zip file that was unpackaged and created a folder on my desktop is worthless to me now. If it's unpackaged and it is a folder, then all it is a bunch of files that won't open, because this zip zip file is a compressed Blackboard course that needs to either run through a program called BFree, B-F-R-E-E, to be able to unpackage and pull the files out so that they're individual files that can be read outside of Blackboard, or you have to upload the zip file back into a Blackboard system to be able to open it as a Blackboard course. So if that happens to you and it's trying to download it to your computer and unpackage it as a folder, then you might need to right-click on it to make it save as a zip file into the location you want it to save as. So depending on your browser, you might get different options. Now I am on a Mac using Safari, and I have a mouse that has a right click. So I right clicked on the actual file, and I'm going to choose download linked file as. It could also say download target as, or download target, or download or save target as. Those are the different things that it may say. Now, if you don't have a right click on your mouse, you can either hold down your Option or Control key on your keyboard, depending on if you're a Mac or a PC. It's a Control key on your keyboard for a Mac, and just left click, or Option key on your PC and just left click, and your little pull down option window like this will appear. So that's how you can right click. So I'm going to save this file, and I'm going to force it to save it into this folder I already have. So I have a folder on my desktop that I've been placing my workshop files, and I can force this zip file, so zip, see how it says zip on the end? I can force a zip file to save to my desktop. And again, I want to make sure that it is a zip when it's saved. And I have already saved this for saving time, because sometimes it can take some time. If your files are pretty large, it can take some time to save. And I've saved it to my desktop, and it is right here. So here's all these zip files that I've downloaded. These are exported Blackboard courses that I have on my computer. I make sure that they're zip files. See, it says zip in the end, and the little icon shows a zip format and not a folder. Not this. This is not what I want. I want it to be one of these zip files. So you can do that at any time. You can download all your backup courses, your exported courses from Blackboard, and just keep them on your computer, and then whenever you're ready to get a file, then you use BFree. And the BFree program is what's going to be the next step and getting these files out of that Blackboard format into a folder like this where your files can be opened and used. So if I go back to that diagram, so we've exported, it's a zip, put it on our computer, and now on the computer we need to use a program called BeFree to get them out of that zip format to readable format so we can put it into PolyLearn. So how do you do that? Well, here's BeFree. This is a program, again, like I showed you, that you can download. It's a free program originally made by San Francisco State. San Francisco State was running Blackboard 6 and needed to move into Moodle 1.0, and so they created a tool that allowed them to pull files from Blackboard and upload them to PolyLearn, or Moodle 1.2 or something like that they were using at the time. So since then, they haven't used Blackboard in years, so this tool, BeFree, was then given to UNC, and UNC has modified it, and now it works with Blackboard 8, which is what we're running, and is able to extract the files and get them so that you can put them in your Moodle 2.0 system, which is our PolyLearn system. This is how you use BeFree. You need to go to the file, so you've taken your zip file that you've exported from Blackboard and you need to open it. So you go File, Open, Archive, Zip, and you need to find where you put that file. So I put it in here, and then I have my files. So see, here's all the files that I have, and I'm going to go ahead and pick this one. So I've got the zip file, and I'm going to click Open. And then the little wheel spins, and it's processing, and it's going to go ahead and find the files inside that folder and unpackage it into a format that can be read outside of Blackboard. So you have to do that. So find the file, and then tell it what to extract. So you're going to make sure that the appropriate boxes are clicked on so that you can extract. Now you could also do this. You could open it and find just that one file and only extract just, oh, well, it's going to do the whole thing because it's in the folder. But you've picked the files you want to extract, and now you can see that there is actual files in here. Whereas before, as a zip, you can't see that. So it sees each individual file. So I'm going to go ahead, now that I've checked all these boxes, and I'm going to choose File, Extract as Files and Folders. So I want to extract this into a format that can be read out of Blackboard. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it into this folder area because I want to organize and have it in a good safe place. And I'm going to create a folder, because if I don't create a folder, so say this is for my 161 Section 1 course. If I don't create a folder where I'm going to extract all these files, what happens is wherever you tell it to go, we'll extract the 50 files randomly in that area. So, you know, for example, if your desktop has files on it and you just chose desktop, then your desktop will be covered with the 50 files. So you definitely want to make sure that you create a folder so you can organize it. Once the folder is picked, you can go ahead and save, and it's going to extract all those files into that folder. So that's done. I'm done with BeFree. So what does that look like? So here's that one folder I made, and there it is. So here's the different folders and files. You can see all the different files in here. They're all in a format now that I can read out of Blackboard. So you have to use the Blackboard BeFree program. It's not from Blackboard, but it's a program that allows you to take Blackboard zip files, exported files, and open them up into a outside of Blackboard reader-friendly format that can be used in any program, not just PolyLearn. You can put it in email. You can send it anywhere because it's a readable file now out of the Blackboard system. And then the other step I would recommend is cleaning things up. For example, you know, you're going to be uploading this into PolyLearn. These little typos that might be in here, or this syllabus has an extra folder. I don't need this extra folder, so I can, you know, remove the extra folders, move things around, you know, just clean things up, change names, whatever it is you need to do to make this as user-friendly as possible, because the Blackboard format's going to have a whole bunch of extra folders and stuff that you don't need in PolyLearn or even on your desktop. So clean it up and get it ready to go so that it's ready for PolyLearn. I went ahead and did that to this one. I got it all cleaned up. And then you're going to compress it, because if you want to add this folder to PolyLearn with just a couple clicks, so say for example, in this Bio 161 folder, I had 100 files. I could upload 100 files one at a time if I wanted to. But if I wanted to put this My Private Files, you know, this whole thing, this 100 files, into My Private Files at once, I could zip up or compress this folder and then upload it to My Private Files and unpackage it in there. So how do you compress a folder? On my Macintosh, I right-click on it, and I choose Compress, and then the name of the folder. On the PC, you would choose Input, and then I think it's Compress, and then also the name of the folder. Now, again, it's a right-click, so either if you don't have a right mouse click on your mouse, you have to hold down the Control or Option key to get the pull-down list. But you're going to choose Compress. So I've compressed my Bio 161 folder so that it is a zip file, because you can only upload a folder full of stuff if it's been compressed to be a file that's a zip. So let's go to the diagram, and we are here. I've zipped it up, so rezip it, the clean folder, and now I'm going to My Private Files. I've gone from Blackboard to PolyLearn, so that's the last step of option A. But if you look at option B, Computer to PolyLearn, it is the same thing. So this step here in option A is the same as the whole steps of option B. So either you start with Blackboard and then go to your computer, or you go from your computer to PolyLearn. So if you're going from your computer to PolyLearn, you could take your folder that you have on your computer, clean it up and zip it, then put it in PolyLearn, which is exactly what we're going to be doing now. So either one, if you're starting from Blackboard or your computer, you're moving forward and we're right where you're supposed to be. So I'm going to my PolyLearn course. So here's PolyLearn, and I've already compressed that folder, and I need to get to My Private Files. So over here I've got My Private Files, and I'm going to manage them by click on Managing My Private Files. Now in the other workshop I showed you how to turn this on. If it's not on, you can, this My Private Files block, you can go to Turn Editing On, and then at the very bottom there's an Add Block, and you can find My Private Files and turn that on. My Private Files can also be accessed through your profile. So if you want to get to your My Private Files, you can also get to it there. I'm going to go ahead and turn editing off right now and scroll down to My Private Files and manage those. So now I'm managing My Private Files. And then I'm going to create a folder for that Bio 161 content. So I'll create a folder for Bio 161, and I'm going to OK and save that. So here's Bio 161. I'm going to click on the folder name to get inside the folder. I'm in the folder, and I know I am because my breadcrumbs tell me I am. It says Files Bio 161, and I'm going to go ahead and add. So I'm going to add from Upload a File, and I'm going to choose that zip folder I just created. So 161 zip, this one, and I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Now I'm currently using Safari, and there's been some known issues with uploading files with this choose license right, all rights reserved. We haven't been able to determine exactly why, but we do know that if you choose something else like Creative Commons instead of all rights reserved, that your file with Safari will upload. This seems to only be a Safari problem. Hasn't been a problem with Firefox, Chrome, or Internet Explorer. So if you're using Safari and your file won't upload, it just spins there forever, you might want to change your license, choose license to Creative Commons, and go ahead and click Upload. So in the faculty support area, if you click on File Management and you scroll down to the bottom, this is also linked from the FAQ page. There's a known issue with Safari that it may not upload, and so you could choose something else from All Rights Reserved, so All Rights Reserved, to Creative Commons. And if you're wondering, well, if I choose that, what exactly does that mean? Here's the information right here. All Rights Reserved is not going to actually modify your file in any way or at all. It's just basically saying that that file has a copyright. It's copyrighted. Creative Commons means that it's your file. Now, no one else sees this. This is for your particular labeling of your resources. But again, because the Safari system seems to have a problem with all rights reserved, you can choose something else, and this is the information that explains what those mean. So let me go ahead and go back to my private files. And in here, my file is uploaded. So I've got the Bio 161 zip file that I just uploaded, and it's a zip file, and it's not useful to me until I unpackage it. Next to it in the My Private Files, you'll see this little icon that looks like a pull-down list. Now, you know, I said in Blackboard, you have to right-click to save that as a zip file. In this one, this little icon, I'm just left-clicking on it, and it's opening a pull-down list for me. So it doesn't require a right-click at all. This little icon is opening a pull-down list, and I'm picking Unzip. And the Unzip is going to unpackage this folder full of stuff that I've zipped up on my Mac, and it's going to uncompress it so that I can read it in PolyLearn's My Private Files. Now I have this extra stuff. On my Mac, it gives me this underscore thing. I can delete that because that's not helpful. It's not a useful file. And I can also delete the zip file because it's unpackaged. I don't need it anymore either. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. What I only need is this. And when I click on it, there's all the stuff. All the things I just uploaded. Everything's there. Now keep in mind, whatever you do with adding folders or adding your files or zips or whatever, you have to save changes. Do not forget to save the changes. If you don't save changes, you'll lose everything you just did. Don't get out of this page because that's also canceling. So save changes, get out of the My Private Files by saving changes, and then everything I just did is there. So look, there's my Bio 161 and My Private Files on the bottom, and there's all my files. Okay, now I want to put something that I just uploaded into My Private Files into my course so my students can see it. I have to turn my editing on, and then I would go and say I wanted to add my syllabus. I would add a resource file, and I can type in the name, syllabus, and in my description I can type in something or deselect this so that display resource description as, so that I don't have to type something there. And then I'm going to choose add, and from My Private Files I'm going to go into my bio and pick my syllabus. There it is. And if you want it, this is display, how you want them to see it. You can change different ways that the file is displayed, and if you're not sure what those mean, you can click on that little question mark and that will tell you what they mean. And I do recommend though that your files, you don't give them doc files, that you give them PDF files, because a PDF file can be read on any computer, any browser, whereas a doc you're required to have either Internet Explorer with the Word reader in it or Word itself. But that's how I add my files for my students to access them out of My Private Files. So now there's that file right there. If you want to learn more about adding stuff after you've learned how to get content from Blackboard or your computer into PolyLearn, you might want to look at the other videos that I also created. The one is orientation to PolyLearn or organizing your PolyLearn course. So those also might be helpful to you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this workshop, and I'm sure we'll see you later in some other session. Please feel free to email us at polylearnsupport@calpoly.edu, and have a great day.